Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. And I'm super psyched about this topic. Short and sweet, the foods you should and shouldn't eat. That rhymes, by the way. And I am recording this live in the Secret Sauce group. If you've not joined us yet on Facebook, it's the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. Join us there, comment on the show. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what foods you know you should and shouldn't eat. So thanks for being here. If you have watched my TED Talk and rated it, thank you. If you haven't, go to TED Talk, TEDx on YouTube. And the title of my talk is Emotional Eating, What If Weight Loss Isn't About the Food? I'm so happy to be here with you and to present to you a really important topic. Okay, on with the show. Hi friends, hello, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm so excited to pop in here with a message that I hope is helpful. So if you're new to the Secret Sauce group, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And I was having dinner with my guy last night, and we have very interesting conversations about food because he's not an emotional eater, thank God. And he just isn't. He doesn't like sugar. He doesn't like things that are sweet. He doesn't eat dessert unless he's sort of like feeling like he should be nice to the person who made him a pie or something. But anyway, God bless him. So he finds it very curious, this whole eating thing. So he tries to figure it out and ask me questions, and we talk about it, and he tries to sort of understand it. He's very inquisitive and curious, and I love that, and I love talking about my favorite topic, which is emotional eating and me. So anyway, but we're talking about just how to have a balance around food. And he's trying to understand this thing of foods. Anyway, he's trying to understand it all. So we got to talking, and I was telling him, he observes in me a freedom around food that he thinks is super impressive. Like, he doesn't even feel like I have a problem with food. He's like, you're free. Like, there's lots of foods you eat, and it's not a big deal. Food's not a big deal. You don't have cravings. You don't go overboard, like you're healthy, you're fit, whatever. So he doesn't even know me and my former self. And of course, I let him know what my former self is like, because I'm not cured. I don't consider myself to be cured. I feel like, hey, I am blessed as all get out. I am so blessed that I don't have cravings. I'm so blessed that I seem normal around food, but it was not that way once upon a time. I'm a former binge eater. I'm a former trash eater. If you've watched my TEDx talk, you know about my garbage eating. That was a usual occurrence for me. So I know where I come from, and I never forget where I come from. In fact, all my work around emotional eating with Heal Your Hunger and my programs, all fueled by the knowledge and the understanding of where I come from. And that is so important for me. I never want to forget the darkness of my binges, the darkness of not being able to stop. So I have to tell him about it because he doesn't see that in me, thank God. But it's a part of me. I mean, it's something I could go back to if I don't do all the things that I do, if I don't walk my talk. And I do walk my talk by the grace of God, not perfectly, never perfect, but the things that I teach my clients in order to heal from emotional eating, the step-by-step process I walk them through, I'm walking it too. I'm walking it too. I must, so that I can remain free. So I want to talk to you about the foods you should and shouldn't eat. And this is something I was talking about with him because he, so much of the time we want somebody to tell us what to eat, right? It's so common as emotional eaters to say, give me the diet, show me what to eat. And the thing is, nobody can really truly tell us what to eat. We can take suggestions, especially if we have medical conditions, concerns, health issues. We can read books. We can learn from other people's experience. But our bodies are unique. They are unique. They are our own. And it's really impossible for someone else to tell us exactly what we should eat because everybody is different. Everybody has its own reactions to food, special needs, special ways of metabolizing. And so if anybody tries to tell you what to eat, I would say turn tail and run, because who could know better than you? Who could know better than you? Of course we take suggestions, but what I want for you is for you to take a journey of healing your emotional self, the emotional cravings, so that you can hear what your divine nutritionist is telling you. We have knowledge inside of us. We know so much more than we realize, but when it's covered up with food from binging and snacking on unhealthy things, it's all cloudy and murky, and you add sugar and carbs to the picture and we don't know which end is up. So I want you to get clear by having self-care practices. I want you to have balance emotionally so that you can hear what your divine nutrition is telling you, because your divine nutrition is yours and knows your body. That still small voice, that's what I'm talking about. So we were talking last night at dinner, my boyfriend and I, my partner, and we were talking about, I was telling him about granola, because I generally don't eat granola. It's too close to my binge food. I used to binge on granola, and I ate bowls and bowls of granola and cereal. Okay, do you relate to that? Put it in the comment if you're a cereal eater. Okay, I was a cereal binger. That's got two meanings, and I'll take them both. So I would eat a bowl of cereal, and then it was so good. It had sugar in it, of course. I was captivated by the sugar physically, but emotionally as well. It was so yummy. I like to have the milk kind of make the oats soggy, the crunchy oats a little soggy. And I just would keep going back to the kitchen and keep eating more cereal. The sweet kind, the granola. And he eats granola every day with his yogurt. He eats yogurt and granola every single day with some berries. And so one day I was out of my nuts that I eat, and his granola is like very low, barely any sugar because he doesn't like sweet things. And so I put some of that in my yogurt. And it was fine. It was fine on the one hand. But I was telling him, I wasn't comfortable with it, because a few days later, I was looking at his granola and thinking, oh, that looks good. And I just want to tell you, I don't want to be craving anything. It is very uncomfortable for me to have food cravings. I don't want to crave anything. That's why I go to the lengths I go to heal my relationship with food. But because I'd had a little bit of granola, it sort of got into my system where I had a taste for it. I'm like, oh, that was good. I'd like to have some more, like maybe I'll have some granola again. And I'm like, no. I know where this leads. And so regarding the foods you should and shouldn't eat, it's different for everybody. I can't tell you what to eat and what not to eat. What I will tell you is, if you notice that something is grabbing you, if you notice that something has a draw for you, if you have a taste for something and you want more, watch that. And that's what I was watching. I was noticing that normally I don't even look at the granola because it's not my food. Usually that's not my food. I don't have it. It's like, it's not even on my radar, because it's because I know it can be a trigger for me and I leave it alone. But the fact that I had some made me kind of have a little bit of a pause thinking about it. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about the foods that do trigger you. And maybe at this point in time, everything triggers you, anything sweet. Okay. But if you start healing the emotional eating and you start addressing the anatomy of the emotional eater, if you get support to not overeat, you're going to get cleaner and cleaner around your food, and you won't have so many cravings. But you want to be aware of those things that trigger you. And my experience is it's different for different people. And so I can't say what you should and shouldn't eat. If everything triggers you, you got to eat. Okay, stay away from all sugar, all processed carbs, and anything outside of 3 meals. Okay, if you've read my book, you know about the 3 meal magic plan. Super helpful. But anything outside of that, it could be triggering, and so stay away from it. Just create some strong boundaries around the food that you eat. I found that very helpful for years. For years, I was on a paleo diet. I didn't eat any grains. I didn't eat any carbs really, and that served me well because it was strong boundaries, and it just helped me clean things up and get out of the habit of eating things like bread and rice and all that kind of stuff. Sugar, of course. But my point here is that the foods you shouldn't eat are the ones that trigger you, the ones that grab you, and you find it hard to say no to. People are like, if you're really free, you should be able to eat anything, right? Not so fast. That's not been my experience. My experience is that I have to deal with the emotions, so I have a choice. I can say no to things that don't work for me, but I also have to be vigilant and aware that some things could seep into my life, right? Just a little bit of that, and all of a sudden you're wanting more of that. I don't want to get sucked in to cravings and having a taste for something that I want more of. That is hell. And it's hard as an emotional eater because you have to eat, right? You have to eat. You can't put the plug in the jug. You can't say no more food. So it's trickier, and it takes knowing ourselves. There are a lot of things I do on a daily basis to stay in emotional balance. I meditate, I pray, I walk, I talk to God, I read, I talk to other emotional eaters, I try to be helpful to emotional eaters. All these things help me keep balanced and clean in my eating. But I don't test the waters. Typically, now that little granola thing was a little bit of a aberration for me. I generally don't test the waters by eating things that could be slippery for me. Okay, I was again, it didn't grab me, but I noticed that it could. If I kept testing the waters, it could grab me and take me places I don't want to go. So that's what I was explaining to my guy, is that he's like, but you're so normal around food now. I said, I know, but I am not going to forget how many bowls of cereal I ate and how granola was a binge food for me. The same goes for popcorn. I just don't want nothing to do with popcorn. Why? I've eaten vats of it. I've eaten truckloads of popcorn in my day. It's a major emotional eater binge food, right? Because it's like airy and there's not a lot to it, so you can eat a lot of it. I was a volume eater. I was a binge eater. But popcorn is just too close. It's too close for comfort for me. I don't want to get sucked in. I don't want to get triggered. So I know what my triggers are. I didn't think of granola as a trigger. I generally stay away from it though, just to be, just to be safe. And I now know for good reason, because I did have a little bit and it just kind of made me uncomfortable. And like, oh, I got to get into some more of that. So know what your triggers are and don't test the waters. Don't put yourself in a position to get triggered and then have it suck you all the way to hell. And I know you know what that journey's like. It's a ride that no one should experience. Getting sucked all the way to hell with a binge food and where it leads us. Friends, it got ugly for me. I'm sorry, but I'd start with cereal and then it'd turn into candy bars and then cake and then ice cream and then chips and then, get salty with the sweet, and I would go in the middle of the night and get food if I was in that binge mode and I had cravings, insatiable cravings, and that monster compulsion was inside of me. I would literally go to the store. I live in a city, so stores are open late. I would go to the store and buy binge foods. It was awful. It was a ride to hell. Then I'd gain weight. I'd hate my body. I'd be wearing black stretchy yoga pants, not wanting to show anybody me. And it's just not fun. So I know that, and I remember that, and that's why I have a healthy respect for things that used to be binge foods for me, where I don't test the waters. I don't try to be normal around them. Okay, I did a podcast once on being normal. That's a trap for emotional eaters. I just want to be like Susie. I want to be like Sharon. I want to be normal like they are. I am not normal, and I'm okay with that. There are certain foods which could trigger me. Again, maybe not, maybe not, but why put myself in that position? So the foods you should eat are foods that don't trigger you. foods that you can eat and feel safe around. Safe is a good word, right? Because I have not been safe around certain foods where they grab a hold of me, and then before you know it, I'm binging on them. That is a terrible feeling, and that's an unsafe place to be. So know the foods that you feel safe with. Know the foods that make you feel good about your choices. Like, you can wake up the next day. A good test is, how do you feel the next day after having eaten that food? Do you have regret? Do you feel like, damn it, I did it again? So a good test is, how do I feel the next day after eating that food? And eat the foods that don't make you struggle with your weight. You know, if you're constantly eating foods that make you gain weight, but you hate gaining weight, you hate carrying excess weight, that's a food you shouldn't eat. You know, the struggle with weight is miserable too. I've been there, 50 pounds overweight. So I hope this is helpful. The foods you should eat are the ones that are not going to trigger you to be out of control and binge, and the ones that make you feel good about your choices. The foods you shouldn't eat are the foods that are a little too slippery for you. You might slide down the slippery slope of hell, okay? And it's different for everybody. That's why you have to get honest with yourself and determine what that is for you. And not what you wish it were. Okay, we do a lot of wishing and making believe as emotional eaters. I'm going to make believe this is a safe food for me. Next day, you've eaten 2 pounds of it. Okay, so I'm not talking about living in make believe. I'm talking about getting honest about what's safe and what isn't safe. What takes you on that slippery slope, that ride to hell, you know? And other foods you shouldn't eat are ones that make you feel regretful about your choices and make you struggle with your weight. If you're in a constant struggle with your weight, get honest about the foods that make you gain weight. Can you really handle them? If they make you gain weight all the time, but you hate gaining weight, if you don't mind gaining weight, you got no problem. If you do mind gaining weight, if you struggle with your weight, if you hate your body, you know, and yet you're eating these foods, those are the foods you shouldn't eat. Now, I understand just knowing those foods are good for you is not enough, okay? So make sure you get support to stay away from those foods. What does support mean? Support means dealing with the underlying causes, dealing with the emotions, dealing with the stress, getting communities to support you and help you with the hardest of all addictions in the world that exist, and that's food. Food addiction for me is the hardest, obviously for me personally, but I think overall it's one of the hardest to overcome because you have to eat. We have to eat to live. So it's a lot trickier, you know, blurry lines, right? Slippery slopes. It's not cut and dry, like put the plug in the jug like it is with alcohol. So that means more support to address the underlying causes. It's vital. So please reach out to Heal Your Hunger. Have a breakthrough session with my team. Find out if my process for healing emotional eating can serve you. See if it's a fit for you. Don't do it alone. Don't try to overcome the hardest of all addictions on your own. Okay, get support. But just know that we got to look at those triggers and get real about them. I don't want to eat things that are constantly calling to me, constantly pulling me, that I'm constantly trying to fight. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to have peace around food, and I know you do too. Thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. Please comment. Let me know your thoughts and what foods you know are slippery for you. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Love you guys.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.